Thanks very much, and again, it's wonderful to be in such a room. John F. Kennedy, as you may know, the White House in the early 1960s was a wonderful place for entertaining, and in 1962 he had the entire group of Nobel Prize winners of that year, and he said what I thought was a marvelous quote at the time, and he said, "Never before have so many great minds been gathered in one room, except perhaps when Thomas Jefferson ate alone." and again, I feel, I'm not sure whether we're Thomas Jefferson, but I think there's an awful lot of people in this room who can really find the solutions to this considerable issue, and as you say, the waste that we see. And I think it's on us all to do so, because the system needs significant orchestration to do so, and that requires all of the groups represented here to really make that difference. So Teach First began in 2003, recruiting 187 teachers to work across London. Our founder and CEO, Brett Wigdort, along with Joe Owen, went round to some of the best universities in the country and did what people at the time said was impossible: getting top graduates to teach in challenging schools in significant numbers. And what's wonderful is one of that 2003 group is here today. So James Toop, so you can ask him how he was so convinced by Brett and Joe at the time. We've grown that 187 in 2003 to 1,695 teachers across 10 local areas and in Wales, across 3 phases: early years, primary and secondary, working in close partnership with 708 schools. Whilst the programme has developed in scale and in scope, the key message remains the same about attracting the very best people to the most challenging, but also the most exciting places in Britain, the most exciting schools in Britain. Teaching with children, or working with children and young people, is great. It always has been, and it always will be. The second tenet of that initial pitch, and it remains the same today: it's an amazing opportunity to develop great leadership skills and development, to be that expert teacher, to be that master teacher. The promise of responsibility from the start. Again, our graduates, our best graduates in this country, want that responsibility. Now again, it kind of feels to me it's like Superman's cape. With great responsibility comes great power, and the other way round. And that responsibility is hard. That is difficult to really undertake, and the burden that our teachers carry to have the highest expectations of our children is significant. Then the other thing is it's a direct opportunity to make a difference. Again, we know that graduates, many people come into the profession because they want to make a difference. And teaching is one of those great direct opportunities to do so. And then I think with Teach First, the other thing was about being surrounded by hundreds and now thousands of like-minded people who want to do the same thing. At our 5th anniversary, which feels like a lifetime ago, Lord Andrew Adonis, who many of you will know, who's a trustee of Teach First, said that Teach First had a mix, and a very effective mix, of altruism and self-interest. Our vision is clear. It's to eradicate educational disadvantage. It's a vision shared by our schools. It's a vision shared by many people in this country. It attracts incoming graduates who want to make that difference. The altruism is well served. We know that graduates today do want to make a difference. I don't think any teacher enters the profession because they're fired up by data entry or wrestling with the photocopier. But there's also self-interest. We call our programme a leadership development programme. It develops skills that can be applied at the classroom, school, and system level. And many of them go through that pipeline that has already been alluded to, although we want to see much greater numbers do so as well. What's interesting to note is that whilst many on entry do not see themselves as lifelong teachers, a big group of them get bitten by the bug. It was fascinating in 2003 at our first summer institute. Ralph Taberer, who many of you will know, who was the head of the TDA at the time. Ralph came down to speak to the group of 187. And it's one of those, and Ralph was a great advocate for us to kind of get Teach First off the ground originally, along with many, many others. But Ralph asked a question about how many people in the room will stay in teaching beyond 2 years. And it was about half. And he said, oh, and then, just as Sir Michael alludes to, the fact that they're bright people, they then said, you've asked the wrong question. It says, how many of us will return to teaching after a certain period as well? And again, it was a fascinating opportunity to hear so many that said, yes, they're committed to teaching in a low-income school. They may well do something else, and they want to return. And interestingly, from that first seed, the 2003 cohort, more of them are teaching today than were in 2006, when 3 years in. So again, they do have this idea of portfolio careers. They're going out and they're coming back in. And again, there needs to be greater flexibility in the system to make sure that there is that opportunity to do so. I think also High Flyers research shows that today's graduates expect to work for their first employer for less than 3 years. And again, whilst we want lifelong teachers, and all of us do, and they need to grow and develop and become the very best, we also need to acknowledge that generations do change. And therefore, the certain kind of ideas that they have, we need to be more flexible in our approach to attract and retain the very best. And I think there are a number of interesting solutions put forward in the recent policy exchange paper around subject enhancement courses on return, sabbaticals, career breaks, and various issues such as that. Our curriculum focuses on high quality teaching and learning, including deep subject knowledge and the knowledge to support pupils to retain it and apply that knowledge in all sorts of new and different situations. It also includes a focus on an ambitious vision for pupils, and we provide support so that we can remove barriers to see that vision realised. And that support comes from a number of experts, mentors in school, our own leadership development officers, so employees of Teach First, and indeed our colleagues in our university partnerships who are really driving this work forward significantly as well. Also, our curriculum is based around leadership, and it's leadership of self, it's leadership of others, and it's also acknowledgement and leadership of the implications of the environment. Education is changing, it is a shifting environment, and therefore any leader at any level needs to be acutely aware of how policy affects children. And teachers have that responsibility to translate policy into what happens in the classroom. And that's something that, again, is so critical for leaders at all levels, be it in the classroom, at the school, or in the system. And I think then finally, the other thing that we bring in our participants is about building a movement, beginning with a network of support in their local area where they're placed. And again, I'm glad Grimsby got a mention, because we have a significant cohort in Grimsby and in Scarborough and in Blackpool and in Hull. These areas that Sir Michael really sort of shone a light on in the Unseen Children report in 2012, I think. And we really took up that challenge, because it's absolutely critical that those schools have the best opportunity to get great people through the doors to teach those kids who need them most. But that movement piece kind of does go deeper. It's not just a network, because what it does is about saying, who else can help me support high expectations for the pupils that I teach. Who else can we draw in the school, in the local community, in the school down the road, to really ensure that we have high expectations that's sustainable, rather than a kind of a flash in the pan sometimes that can be, that often can be the issue in some schools. So that's kind of what we focus on, those three areas of curriculum, and I see them as overlapping circles: the teaching and learning, the leadership, and the movement piece. And the overlapping circles, the real power and uniqueness of Teach First is within that middle part. And as I say, that partnership piece, that working together, is something that Teach First really values. Again, as I said at the very opening, this is a system-wide issue, and it requires the system to work together to resolve it. And I believe that we absolutely can.
Excellent. Thank you so much.